the arrival, the sky was dark, and the night air was thick with tension. It was a moment that no one on Earth would ever forget. Suddenly, a loud, deafening sound filled the air, shaking buildings and rattling windows. People stopped what they were doing and looked up. A massive object had appeared in the sky, an enormous spaceship, larger than anything they had ever seen before. It was sleek, dark, and terrifying. The ship hovered above the Earth, blocking out the stars. Xaroth, the alien leader, stood in his ship's control room, his eyes glowing with pride. He had traveled across the stars to Earth with one goal: to show humanity their place in the universe. The time had come to prove that his species was superior to any other, and he was going to make sure the humans knew it. He didn't care for their puny planet or their weak defenses. All he cared about was making them bow before him. From the control room, Xaroth looked down at Earth. His fleet was massive, surrounding the planet like an army of giants. They were ready for battle, but Xaroth wasn't going to start with violence. No, he was going to challenge humanity, to show them just how small they were in the grand scheme of the universe. He activated the communication system, and his voice boomed across the Earth, reaching every corner of the globe. "People of Earth," he began, his voice deep and commanding. "I am Xaroth, leader of the Arcanian fleet. You are nothing but ants in the eyes of the Arcanian Empire. We have traveled across galaxies to claim what is ours. Your planet, your resources, and your very existence are insignificant. You will bow before us, or we will erase you from the stars. This is your final warning." The message echoed around the world. People were terrified, unsure of how to react. Governments scrambled to respond. Military forces were put on high alert, but deep down, everyone knew that they were no match for the alien fleet. What could they do against a force so powerful, so advanced? As the world panicked, a small group of people gathered in a top-secret military base, preparing to discuss what to do next. Dr. Emily Carter, a brilliant scientist, stood at the center of the room, her mind racing. She had studied extraterrestrial technology for years, and while she had never imagined an invasion like this, she knew one thing: Earth needed a plan. Fast. "We can't just give up," she said, looking at the gathered officials. "There has to be a way to fight back." General Thompson, the military leader of the group, crossed his arms and frowned. "You don't understand, Doctor. These aliens have technology that we can't even begin to comprehend. We've never faced anything like this before. We'll be wiped out in minutes." But Dr. Emily wasn't ready to give up just yet. She had an idea, but it was risky, extremely risky. She needed time to think and to gather all the knowledge she had accumulated over the years. She couldn't let fear control her. She had to find a way to protect her planet. Meanwhile, Xaroth was watching the chaos unfold from his ship. He smiled, pleased with how his message had been received. It was exactly what he had expected. Humans, weak and afraid, he knew they would beg for mercy. But mercy was not something he was willing to offer. As the hours passed, the world held its breath, unsure of what would happen next. Military jets flew overhead, preparing for a battle that seemed inevitable, but no one knew how. To fight a war against an enemy that could destroy them with a single command. Xaroth made another broadcast. "This is your last chance, Earth. I will give you 1 day to surrender. If you choose not to, we will begin the invasion. You have 24 hours. The countdown had begun. Humanity was facing its greatest threat, and no one knew what would happen. When the clock ran out, Dr. Emily paced back and forth in her lab. She had been working non-stop, reviewing every bit of alien technology she could get her hands on. She knew that if she could figure out a way to communicate with the aliens, there might be hope. But she needed help. She needed someone brave, enough to face Xaroth directly. But who? Outside the city was a scene of chaos. People were rushing to evacuate, and military forces were scrambling to prepare for the inevitable. But in the midst of all the fear and panic, one thing became clear. Humanity wasn't going down without a fight. Dr. Emily's phone buzzed, interrupting her thoughts. It was a message from Captain Ryan, a decorated war hero, known for his leadership and courage. He was willing to help, no matter the cost. "I'm in. Tell me what I need to do." Hope flickered in Dr. Emily's chest. Perhaps, just perhaps, humanity wasn't entirely helpless after all. The challenge had been set. The clock was ticking. And Xaroth, with all his arrogance and confidence, had just made his first big mistake. He underestimated humanity. The battle for Earth was about to begin. The challenge the day that Xaroth had given humanity was almost up. The world's leaders had no plan, no real strategy. The feeling of helplessness was suffocating. The alien ships in the sky were too powerful, too advanced. There was no way. To defeat them, the armies had prepared. The defense systems were ready. But no one could deny the truth. Those facing a battle it might never win. As the final hours of the countdown ticked away, the entire world held its breath. People stayed glued to their televisions, computers, and phones, waiting for the inevitable. Governments across the globe issued statements, but the words felt empty. How could they reassure the people when there was so little hope? At that moment, Dr. Emily Carter walked into the room where General Thompson and the other leaders had gathered. She was tired, her eyes heavy from lack of sleep, but there was determination in them. She had a plan, a risky one, but it was their only shot. "I've figured it out," Dr. Emily said, her voice calm but urgent. "We may not be able to defeat Xaroth's fleet head-on, but we can challenge him in a way he never expected." "General?" Thompson raised an eyebrow, skeptical. "What are you suggesting, Doctor? We have no chance against them in direct combat." "I'm not talking about direct combat," Emily replied. "I'm talking about a challenge, a duel." "A duel?" the general asked, looking puzzled. "You're suggesting that we face Xaroth in hand-to-hand combat? You saw how advanced they are. How is a duel even possible?" "Not a duel between Xaroth and a soldier from Earth," Dr. Emily said, shaking her head. "A duel of leaders. Xaroth himself has made it clear that he wants to prove his superiority. If we challenge him, he'll accept. We don't need to defeat his entire fleet, just him. If we can prove that Earth isn't as weak as he thinks, we can win. But we need a champion, someone who can stand toe-to-toe with an alien leader." The room fell silent. The idea was audacious, but it wasn't entirely without merit. If Xaroth's arrogance was as great as it seemed, he would never turn down such a challenge. And if a human could defeat him, it would send a message, not just to Xaroth, but to his entire fleet. But the question remained, who could possibly fight Xaroth? Dr. Emily had an answer. "Captain Ryan," she said, her voice confident. "He's our best chance. He's not only an experienced soldier, but he has the right mindset. I believe he can do this." The room fell into discussion, but it was clear that there was no other viable option. If humanity was to have any chance of survival, they had to put their faith in Captain Ryan. It wasn't just his skills as a soldier that made him the best. Choice it was his heart. He understood the importance of protecting the people, and that gave him a unique strength that couldn't be measured by training alone. General Thompson reluctantly nodded. "All right, we'll move forward with your plan. But we need to act fast. Once the duel begins, there will be no turning back." With that decision made, the clock continued its relentless countdown. Captain Ryan was briefed on the situation and given everything he needed to prepare for what was coming. He knew the stakes were high, but as he stood alone in the quiet of his room, he couldn't help but feel a deep sense of responsibility. His country, his world, was looking to him for salvation. He wasn't a man of many words, but the weight of what he was about to do sat heavy on his shoulders. He had faced many challenges before, but this was different. He was about to face an alien warlord, someone whose species had conquered countless worlds. He was about to face the leader of the most powerful fleet in the universe. As Captain Ryan stood there, the doors to his room opened, and Dr. Emily entered with a solemn look on her face. "Are you ready?" she asked, her voice steady but filled with concern. "I'm ready," Captain Ryan said, his voice firm. "I've fought for my country. I've fought for my people. And now I'm fighting for the whole world." Dr. Emily nodded. "Just remember, this isn't about strength alone. It's about strategy. You have to outsmart him, not just overpower him. The entire world will be watching. This is our chance to show that humanity isn't afraid, that we won't just surrender. If you win, the tide will turn. If you lose, we'll lose everything." Ryan gave her a small, reassuring smile. "I'm not losing, not this time." With that, the countdown reached its final seconds. The whole world was watching as the two leaders prepared for their duel. The world held its breath, praying that Captain Ryan would be the hero humanity needed. The challenge had been made, and now there was no turning back. Xaroth's voice echoed through the air once again, this time with a hint of amusement. "Are you ready, human? Show me what you've got. If you can even stand a chance, I might just show you mercy. If not, I'll crush you like all the others." The moment of truth had arrived. Captain Ryan stepped forward, knowing that the fate of the earth rested on his shoulders. The world's hope lay in his hands. Could a simple human man really face down an alien warlord and win? The battle had begun. The duel, the air was thick with tension as the massive alien spaceship hovered above the earth. A countdown clock glowed ominously on every screen, marking the final seconds before the duel began. People all over the world were on edge, their eyes fixed on their television sets, waiting for a miracle. Humanity's fate rested on Captain Ryan's shoulders, and there was no turning back now. In the heart of the battle arena, Captain Ryan stood, his pulse racing. He wasn't a man of many words, but inside him a storm of emotions was brewing. The challenge he had accepted wasn't just for his country, it was for the entire planet. The alien leader, Xaroth, had chosen to face him in battle, and while Ryan knew the odds were stacked against him, he also knew one thing: he had to win. For humanity, for his friends, for the world. He looked across the arena, and there stood Xaroth, alien leader, a towering figure dressed in gleaming armor. His green skin shone under the lights. His piercing yellow eyes locked on Ryan with an expression of utter superiority. Xaroth was everything Captain Ryan wasn't: cold, ruthless, and unrelenting. But Ryan had something the alien leader didn't: the heart of a fighter, a human spirit that would not be easily crushed. "This is it," Captain Ryan muttered to himself, clenching his fists. "I can't let fear control me. I've trained. For this moment, my entire life, Xaroth raised an eyebrow and sneered. You humans are so predictable. You believe you can win just because you fight with heart. Let me show you the true meaning of power. With a wave of his hand, Xaroth activated the force field around the arena, trapping the two of them inside. The alien's voice echoed across the space, its authority undeniable. You will bow before me, or you will die. I've crushed entire civilizations. What makes you think you are different? Ryan didn't flinch. Instead, he adjusted his stance, ready to move. He knew this wouldn't be a fight of pure strength. It would be a battle of wits, of strategy, and of willpower. As the countdown hit 0, Xaroth lunged forward, his movements faster than anything Ryan had ever seen. The alien's fist slammed toward Ryan's face with the force of a battering ram. Ryan barely had time to react, twisting his body to the side, narrowly avoiding the blow. The air whooshed as Xaroth's fist passed by, sending a shockwave through the arena. But Ryan wasn't fast enough to avoid the follow-up strike. Xaroth's foot swung around, kicking him in the chest and sending him crashing to the ground. Ryan gasped, feeling the wind knocked out of him. Pain coursed through his body, but he knew he couldn't stay down. With determination, Ryan pushed himself back onto his feet, wiping the blood from his lip. The crowd was watching, but Ryan didn't care about that. He cared about one thing: survival. Xaroth laughed, a deep, mocking sound that echoed through the arena. Is that all you've got, human? You're nothing but a weak, fragile creature. Your willpower won't save you. Ryan gritted his teeth. Xaroth had underestimated him, and that was something he would come to regret. Ryan wasn't about to let an alien warlord belittle him. He wasn't about to let the earth fall into the hands of this arrogant conqueror. The arena was silent, except for the sound of heavy breathing. Ryan took a deep breath and steadied himself. He needed to find an opening, a weakness in Xaroth's strategy. The alien was powerful, but he was also predictable. He wasn't used to being challenged by a human, and that arrogance would be his downfall. Suddenly, a memory flashed in Ryan's mind, a tactic from his training that he had once thought was too risky to use. It was the perfect mover feint, followed by a surprise counterattack, but it would require precise timing. If he made a single mistake, it would be his last dot. As Xaroth charged again, Ryan closed the distance between them, moving quickly to the left, just as Xaroth swung his fist toward him. With a swift motion, Ryan ducked under the alien's arm and spun, using the momentum to launch himself toward Xaroth's side. He jabbed his fist into Xaroth's ribcage with all the strength he could muster. Xaroth stumbled back, taken off guard by the unexpected attack. His eyes narrowed in fury, but it was too late. The alien leader had made a mistake, a rare one, but a mistake nonetheless. Ryan saw his chance and seized it in a split second. Ryan's hand grabbed Xaroth's wrist, twisting it in a way that forced the alien to drop his weapon. Ryan didn't wait. He twisted his body around and used his other hand to strike Xaroth's head with a quick, sharp blow. The alien stumbled, clearly stunned, and Ryan pressed the advantage, throwing another punch that landed squarely on Xaroth's jaw. Xaroth's face twisted in rage, his arrogance now replaced with confusion and disbelief. Impossible, he roared. How could you? But Ryan wasn't done. He knew the real fight had only just begun. His heart was pounding, adrenaline coursing through his veins. The alien might have been stronger, but Ryan had something far more powerful: the will to protect his world, to fight for his people. You underestimated humanity, Ryan said, his voice low but filled with certainty. That's your biggest mistake." The arena was silent for a moment, everyone holding their breath as the two adversaries locked eyes. Xaroth wasn't just fighting for dominance, he was fighting for his pride. And now, Ryan had shown him that even the greatest arrogance couldn't withstand the force of human determination. The fight wasn't over yet, but the tides had begun to turn. And for the first time, Xaroth had to wonder if maybe, just maybe, humanity wasn't as weak as he had thought. The duel had only just begun, and the true test of strength was yet to come. The battle between Captain Ryan and Xaroth raged on. The arena, once a place of alien grandeur, had transformed into a brutal battlefield. Both combatants were battered, their bodies covered in bruises and blood. But it wasn't just physical strength that was being tested, it was the very core of their beings. Captain Ryan's resolve had proven stronger than Xaroth had anticipated, and the alien leader was beginning to lose his once unshakable confidence. Xaroth, breathing heavily and glaring at Ryan, wiped the blood from his mouth. His golden eyes burned with a mixture of fury and confusion. The human before him, this weak, insignificant creature, was actually a challenge. He had never faced anything like this before. He had crushed entire civilizations with ease, and yet, here he was, struggling against a single human. "You think you've won," Xaroth hissed, his voice filled with venom. "You think this insignificant fight makes you worthy of survival. You are just a pest, and I will crush you like all the others." His alien armor hummed with power as he raised his fists, preparing for another attack. But Captain Ryan didn't flinch. His muscles burned, and his vision was blurred. But he could feel something deep within him, the belief that humanity, in all its flaws, was strong. He couldn't give up. Not now, not when everything was on the line. "You underestimate us, Xaroth," Ryan said, his voice steady despite the exhaustion weighing him down. "We fight because we have something you don't. Hope. We fight for our future, for each other, and for our world. That's what makes us stronger than anything you can throw at us." For a moment, Xaroth froze, his face twisted in disbelief. "Hope? You think hope will save you? You can't win. You are outmatched, outclassed. Your planet is mine to conquer." As Xaroth advanced, something unexpected happened. The ground beneath them trembled. The massive alien ships in the sky began to shift, and a strange energy pulse shot through the arena. Both Ryan and Xaroth stopped, their eyes darting around in confusion. The energy surge didn't come from either of them. If it came from somewhere else. Ryan's heart skipped a beat as a voice boomed through the arena, cutting through the tension like a knife. It wasn't Xaroth's voice. It was something new, something unexpected. "Xaroth, you have made a grave mistake." The air shimmered as a figure materialized in front of the combatants, cloaked in an ethereal glow. The being was tall, humanoid, but unlike anything Ryan or Xaroth had seen before. Its skin glowed with an otherworldly light, and its eyes were deep pools of mystery, filled with ancient wisdom. The being wore robes that seemed to shift like liquid metal, and its presence alone exuded a power far beyond anything Ryan had encountered. Xaroth recoiled, his expression now one of fear and confusion. "What is this? Who dares to interfere in my challenge?" The being turned to Xaroth with a cold, calculating gaze. "I am the guardian of the old order. You have violated the sacred laws of conquest by underestimating Earth and humanity. You have challenged not just a planet, but an entire force of the universe that you do not understand." Ryan stepped back, his mind racing. Who was this being? and why did it seem to speak with such authority? The Guardian continued, its voice resonating through the air. Your arrogance has blinded you, Xaroth. You thought you could bend the universe to your will, but you did not account for the will of humanity. You thought you could destroy hope, but hope is the strongest force in the universe. And now you will pay for your mistake. Xaroth sneered, clearly not intimidated. You are no match for me. I have the power to destroy worlds. No one, not even you, can stop me. The Guardian's expression remained unchanged. You do not realize the power you face. Your kind may conquer worlds, Xaroth, but you have never faced something like this before. The alien leader's eyes flickered with uncertainty for the first time, but his arrogance quickly returned. I do not fear you. I will destroy you as I have destroyed countless others. Without warning, Xaroth lunged toward the Guardian, his massive fists swinging with the force of a comet. But just as quickly, the Guardian raised a hand, and Xaroth was frozen in mid-air. His body trembled, unable to move, as if some invisible force held him in place. You misunderstand, Xaroth, the Guardian said, its voice calm, yet filled with undeniable authority. Your fate has already been decided. This duel, your challenge, was never just about you and this human. It was about something much greater. Your arrogance, your belief that you can destroy and dominate, has already led you to failure. Xaroth struggled against the force, but it was no use. The Guardian's power was too much for him. No, Xaroth screamed. I will not be defeated by a mere human or some cosmic being. This isn't over. But the Guardian simply shook its head. It is over. Your reign ends here. With a simple motion, the Guardian's hand swept across the air, and the arena was filled with a blinding light. When the light faded, Xaroth was gone. The arena was still. Ryan stood there, his body trembling, his mind spinning. Had he won? Had humanity really just been saved by this mysterious being? The Guardian turned to Ryan, its eyes softening. Your strength, Captain Ryan, lies not in your physical power, but in your belief. Your refusal to give up when everything seemed lost is what has saved this planet. Remember this. It is the human spirit that is the greatest force in the universe. Never forget that. Ryan nodded, still in shock. But what happens now? What about Xaroth's fleet? They're still out there. The Guardian smiled, a faint glow. Surrounding its form, the fleet will leave. They will never return. As for the future, that is up to you, humanity. You have proven that you can stand against the greatest of foes, and that is why Earth will continue to thrive. With that, the Guardian's form began to dissolve into the air, leaving Ryan standing alone in the arena, his heart still pounding. Xaroth had been defeated, not by brute strength, but by something far greater, and as Ryan stood there, he realized that humanity had just taken its first true step into a larger universe. But this victory wasn't the end, it was the beginning. The twist had come, and with it, a new dawn for Earth. The counter-stricken world was still reeling from the unexpected turn of events. Captain Ryan had not only survived the duel with Xaroth, but had also witnessed the appearance of the Guardian, an otherworldly being that had wiped out the alien leader in an instant. The alien fleet, which had once loomed ominously over the planet, was now scattered and retreating. For the first time in days, there was a glimmer of hope in the hearts of humans everywhere. But the victory was far from secure. While Xaroth had been defeated, the alien fleet was still present in Earth's atmosphere. Thousands of ships, powerful and vast, remained poised for another strike. The sudden disappearance of Xaroth had left them without leadership, but they weren't retreating, at least not yet. The question on everyone's mind was, what now? Back in the military command center, Dr. Emily stood beside General Thompson, watching the news feeds from around the world. Reports were flooding in, many claiming that the alien ships had stopped their advance, but were still positioned above major cities. Earth's victory in the duel was a significant win, but the alien threat was far from over. We can't just wait for them to leave on their own, Dr. Emily said, her voice steady but tinged with urgency. We need to act now. If we don't do something, we're giving them time to regroup and plan a counterattack. We have no idea how their command structure works without Xaroth. General Thompson nodded, his face grim. You're right, but we can't just go in blind. We need to figure out how to neutralize them without pushing them to strike back. If we act too aggressively, we risk provoking them into a full-scale invasion. Dr. Emily didn't have the luxury of time to consider all the consequences. She had spent too long thinking about the humans' survival, about how they could possibly fight a threat they didn't understand. She wasn't about to let Earth fall back into despair. General, she said, turning to face him, I've been working on something, a counter-strike plan. It's based on the technology the Guardian showed us. If we can activate the same kind of energy pulse that the Guardian used to neutralize Xaroth, we can take out the alien ships. Thompson raised an eyebrow. You're suggesting we use the same technology that just wiped out Xaroth? Exactly, Emily said, her voice growing more confident. The energy pulse the Guardian used was a form of cosmic disruption. It targeted the alien fleet's central power source and disabled it in seconds. If we can replicate that pulse, we can disable their ships without firing a single shot. The plan was risky, but it was the best option they had. The alien fleet had no leader, but it still had the potential to wreak havoc on Earth. If they could neutralize the fleet without engaging in a full-scale battle, it would give humanity a chance to truly secure its future. The risk, however, was that the aliens might retaliate, might take the pulse as an act of aggression and attack Earth in full force. Emily didn't have time for doubts. She'd seen enough destruction already. This was their moment. Meanwhile, above Earth, the alien fleet lingered in silence. Xaroth's disappearance had shaken them, but the command structure remained intact, albeit uncertain. Without their leader, the fleet was confused, its pilots unsure of what to do next. Their mission was clear: to conquer and subdue, but now that their leader was gone, they found themselves at a crossroads. The fleet's communications officer, a tall alien with dark blue skin and sharp features, turned to the remaining commanders. We must make contact with the High Council. We need new orders. We can't simply remain here without leadership. One of the commanders, a fierce warrior named Xaroth, stepped forward, his hands clenched into fists. We will not retreat. We were sent here to conquer this planet, and we will do so. The humans have shown their strength, but they are weak compared to the might of our fleet. We will destroy their defenses and take what is ours. But the communications officer hesitated. Without Xaroth's guidance, how can we be sure this is the right path? What if there's more at play here than we realize? Xaroth's eyes flared with anger. We will not bow to weakness. We will crush the humans, gather the fleet, prepare to attack. At that moment, a massive shockwave rippled through the alien fleet. The ships trembled, their systems flickering as an unexpected pulse of energy coursed through the atmosphere. The energy pulse was unlike anything they had ever encountered. It wasn't an attack, it was a disruption, a force that rendered their systems powerless in an instant. On Earth, the military forces scrambled to respond. A massive energy pulse, similar to the one used by the Guardian, had been sent into the atmosphere, aimed directly at the alien fleet. The pulse was designed to disrupt the alien ship's power systems, just as Dr. Emily had predicted. But they hadn't anticipated how far-reaching the pulse would be across the globe. The world watched in awe as the alien ships began to flicker, their lights dimming. One by one, the ships began to lose power, falling silent in the sky. Did it work? General Thompson asked, his voice thick with anticipation. Emily nodded. It's working. The fleet is losing power. But we have to act fast. They're not completely disabled. If we give them too much time, they'll recover. Within moments, military jets were scrambled, and Earth's defenses were put into motion. The ships were vulnerable, but they were still powerful. The world's leaders, still hesitant from their earlier panic, now saw an opportunity. They had to finish what they had started. The pulse was only a temporary fix. They needed to strike. The final blow. Emily's pulse quickened as the countdown to the next phase began. This was it, the moment humanity would either stand tall or fall. The counterstrike was now in motion. The alien fleet, once invincible and imposing, was now on the edge of defeat. But with their systems failing, would they retaliate or would? They realized that their arrogance had led them to the brink of destruction. As the world held its breath, Emily whispered to herself, "We have to end this now. There's no turning back." The final stand. The world was holding its breath as Earth's military forces moved into position. The alien fleet, once so powerful and intimidating, was now a shadow of its former self. The energy pulse had disrupted their systems, leaving them vulnerable in the sky. But humanity wasn't the only one waiting for the final move. The alien fleet was still alive, still dangerous, and now it was time for the final stand. In the command center, General Thompson paced nervously. The battle wasn't over yet. The energy pulse had only neutralized the alien fleet temporarily. There was no guarantee they wouldn't regain their strength and retaliate with overwhelming force. He had no choice but to act. Time was running out, and the world was depending on him to make the right decision. "Are we ready?" General Thompson asked, his voice heavy with the weight of responsibility. Dr. Emily Carter stood at the control panel, her eyes fixed on the screen. "We're ready. The alien ships are still weak, but if we don't act now, they'll regroup. We have a window of opportunity, just a few hours before they're back at full power. We can't let them recover," Thompson said, his gaze hardening. "This is our chance to end this, once and for all." Ryan stood by the window, his face pale but determined. The past few days had been a whirlwind of chaos and uncertainty. He had fought Xaroth in the arena, witnessed the Guardian's power, and now he was here, ready to lead one final strike against the alien fleet. This was humanity's last chance. If they failed, they might never get another. "Let's do this," Ryan said, his voice calm but resolute. High above Earth, the alien fleet was still reeling from the effects of the energy pulse. Their systems were malfunctioning, their weapons useless. But despite the damage, the aliens were not about to retreat. The commanders in the fleet were preparing for one final, desperate attempt to conquer Earth. They had no choice. Their pride was at stake, and they would not allow themselves to be defeated by a planet of insignificant humans. "We must strike," Commander Therax said, his voice cold and commanding. We will launch one last attack. We may have lost Xaroth, but we still have the might of the fleet. We will make Earth regret their defiance. The alien fleet, battered and broken, began to power up their weapons once more. It wasn't much, but it was enough. They would launch a final attack on Earth's defenses, an attack that would leave no survivors. On Earth, the military jets launched into the sky, their engines roaring as they soared toward the alien fleet. The world's leaders watched in silence, hoping that this would be the end of the nightmare. But even as they watched, they knew that the battle was far from won. The alien ships were still dangerous, and they were preparing to strike back. Ryan, now in his fighter jet, stared at the massive alien ships in the sky. The sight of them, so powerful and imposing, made his stomach churn. But he had no time for fear. He had been trained for moments like this, moments when everything was on the line, and he wasn't about to back down now. Ryan, we're with you. Dr. Emily's voice crackled over the comms. We've disabled their power systems. Now it's up to you to take them down. Ryan nodded. The plan was simple. Get in close, hit their weak spots, and disable their remaining weapons. If they could disable enough of the alien ships, Earth would have a chance. It was risky, but it was the only way. The first wave of jets locked onto their targets, unleashing a barrage of missiles that struck the alien ships with precision. The explosions were massive, sending shockwaves through the sky. But the alien fleet wasn't going down without a fight. They retaliated, firing back with lasers and energy blasts that streaked through the air, narrowly missing the human jets. Ryan's heart raced as he dove into the fray, narrowly avoiding a blast that exploded just inches from his tail. He gritted his teeth and pushed the jet to its limits, focusing on the task at hand. He had to stay calm. He had to remember his training. Suddenly, a massive explosion erupted nearby, and Ryan's entire jet shook violently. The alien fleet was striking back harder than before. The air was filled with chaos as jets whizzed past, missiles flying, and explosions lighting up the sky. But through it all, Ryan kept his focus. He saw his target, the command ship, the heart of the alien fleet. This was it. He dove straight toward the ship, weaving through the barrage of energy blasts aimed at him. His fingers tightened on the controls as he lined up the shot. He fired. The missiles streaked through the air, slamming into the side of the command ship. A massive explosion erupted, and the ship shuddered. The alien fleet began to falter, their weapons systems failing once more. Ryan didn't hesitate. He went in for another pass, targeting the alien ship's remaining weak points. One by one, the ships began to fall, their systems malfunctioning as Ryan and the other pilots took out their power sources. The world watched in awe as Earth's military forces pushed the invaders back. Back on the ground, Dr. Emily watched the battle unfold, her eyes glued to the monitors. The energy pulse had done its job. The alien fleet was crumbling. She had worked tirelessly, risking everything to develop the plan that had brought them this far. And now, as the final moments of the battle drew near, she could only hope that it would be enough. General Thompson stood beside her, watching the feed with a grim expression. We're almost there, but we need to finish this once and for all. As the last of the alien ships fell from the sky, Ryan's voice crackled over the comms. We did it. It's over. For the first time in days, the world exhaled. The alien threat had been defeated. The battle was won. But as the dust settled and the skies cleared, a new question emerged. What now? The world had proven that it could stand against the greatest of foes, but what would humanity do with that newfound strength? Would they use it to build a better future? Or would they squander it, forgetting the lessons they had learned? For now, though the world celebrated, the final stand had been made, and humanity had triumphed. The battle was over, but the real story was only just beginning. Victory and reflection, the world was forever changed. The last of the alien ships had crashed, their remnants scattered across the vast landscapes of Earth. The sky, once darkened by the looming fleet, was now clear and bright, as if the heavens themselves were celebrating humanity's victory. For the first time in days, the planet exhaled, its people shedding the weight of the fear that had gripped them since Xaroth's arrival. Captain Ryan sat alone in his cockpit, staring out at the horizon. His jet had landed safely, but his mind was elsewhere, still processing the intensity of the battle. The adrenaline was slowly wearing off, but the weight of what had just happened remained heavy on his chest. Humanity had faced annihilation, and against all odds, they had won. But the victory felt bittersweet. He had stood face to face with Xaroth, a leader who believed that no force in the universe could stand against him. He had been pushed to his limits, fighting not just for his life, but for the survival of every person on Earth. Yet it wasn't just his strength that had led them to victory. It was the strength of the human spirit, the belief in something greater than oneself, the hope that refused to be crushed, no matter how dire the situation became. As Ryan stepped out of the cockpit, he was met by Dr. Emily, her face weary but relieved. She smiled at him, but there was no need for words. They both understood what this moment meant. "We did it," Emily said, her voice barely above a whisper. Ryan nodded, but his thoughts were far from celebratory. It wasn't just me. It was everyone, the pilots, the soldiers, the scientists. Everyone who fought. We all played a part. Emily's eyes softened. That's what makes us different. We fight for each other. When we have nothing else, that's what we hold on to. And that's why we'll survive. Meanwhile, across the world, the news was spreading like wildfire. The media outlets were filled with stories of bravery, of humanity's resilience in the face of the greatest threat it had ever known. The victory against the alien invaders was not just a military triumph, it was a testament to the power of hope, unity, and perseverance. People in every corner of the globe celebrated, but they knew deep down that their victory was hard-earned. They had been tested to their limits, and the scars of battle would remain for years to come. In a global broadcast, General Thompson addressed the world, standing tall, his voice steady as he spoke from the heart. "Today, we stand united as one people. We have faced a force that sought to break us, to destroy everything we hold dear. But we stood firm, and we proved that humanity is not easily defeated. We have won, not just for ourselves, but for every person, every family, every community that calls this planet home. We have shown the universe that Earth will not bow to anyone." His words were met with a cheer that echoed through the streets, from city centers to small villages. The world had come together in a way it never had before. Borders seemed to fade, replaced by a shared understanding that they were all connected, bound together by a common fight for survival. But the victory, as sweet as it was, didn't erase the questions that lingered. The alien fleet had been defeated, but what was next? Earth had proven its strength, but what did that mean for its future? Dr. Emily stood by the window, looking out at the peaceful skyline, her thoughts running deep. "We've shown them our strength," she said quietly, her gaze distant. "But what comes after this? How do we rebuild?" Ryan joined her, his eyes focused on the horizon as well. "We don't rebuild the same world we had before. We rebuild a better one. A world where we don't wait for threats to unite us, but where we use our strength to help each other." Emily smiled faintly, but the weight of her words was clear. "It won't be easy, but if we've learned anything from this, it's that humanity is capable of extraordinary things when we come together." As the world began to rebuild, the memory of the alien invasion became something more than just a battle. It became a turning point in human history, a moment when humanity showed the universe that it was not a weak, insignificant species, but a force to be reckoned with. Captain Ryan had been the hero on the front lines, but the real victory belonged to the millions of people who fought behind him, those who had never given up, who had believed when it seemed impossible. It was their strength, their unity, that had carried them through in the months that followed. Earth's leaders began to explore new horizons, both literally and figuratively. Humanity's first contact with the alien fleet had shown them what was possible when they worked together, and now they set their sights on the stars. The universe, once a vast and mysterious place, was now within reach. The idea of peaceful exploration, rather than conquest, took root in their hearts. For the first time, humanity was not just surviving, it was thriving. And as Captain Ryan looked to the future, he couldn't help but feel a sense of hope, not just for Earth, but for the future of all humankind. The war was over, but this was just the beginning. There was so much more to discover, so much more to learn, and humanity had just shown the universe what they were capable of as the sun set over Earth. A new chapter began, one written in the hearts of every human who had ever dared to dream. The final stand had been won, but the real victory was in the lessons learned, the unity forged, and the future they would now build together. Humanity had risen, and they would never be the same again.